All right, number 1 for Dalton is Will Campbell. I have him number 2 in the draft. My number 1 offensive lineman in the draft, and Dalton's number 2 is Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. He was the most valuable power 4 tackle this past season, has been an excellent pass blocker over his entire career, 90.7 pass blocking grade over the last 2 years, 86 pass blocking grade and true passes over the last 2 years. That's 96 percentile, powerful lower body who can hold up against bull rushes, and he has the foot speed and the balance to mirror speed rushers. Also, what I loved about Kelvin Banks Jr., especially this year, he was elite against elite competition, against Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Clemson, Ohio State, and 2 games against Georgia. All those schools have like elite defensive lines, 86.9 PFF grade against those schools. So he has been a fantastic player against elite competition. Why I have him above a guy like Josh Simmons, he's proven it against the best players in the country. 93rd percentile gas score, career high 81 run blocking grade. He's a natural athlete in a zone scheme who can get to the second level. And also, his arm length and everything has been talked about a lot. His wingspan was in the 82nd percentile for tackles. And Mike Renner even pointed this out too. He's like, I look at wingspan more than arm length for tackles. I think that matters more because your wingspan is when you're going like this, you're trying to go side to side. Arm length, I believe they measured like this. So you're not really putting your arms up that much as a tackle. You're putting it like this with a wingspan. His wingspan was 82nd percentile, but his arm length, 33.5 inches. That was 26th percentile for tackles. And really his grip strength isn't the best to maintain blocks, but has been an elite left tackle for Texas. He's been starting since his true freshman year, just like Will Campbell at left tackle for Texas. Arm length isn't ideal, but he's got the wingspan, the athleticism to hold up a tackle, and he's proven himself against elite competition, and he's an ideal fit in his zone blocking team. A lot really similar to the conversation I think we had last year, Dalton, with Olu Fashanu. That's why it kind of reminded me a lot of Kelvin Banks Jr. And for anyone who's talking about Kelvin Banks Jr.'s arm length and that's why he has to play tackle at the next level, he's the same arm length as Armand Membu, the same arm length as Josh Connolly Jr. He's got longer arms than Josh Simmons, longer arms than Ariante Ursary as well. So you're talking about arm length for Kelvin Banks Jr. Well, it's the same, if not better, than a lot of guys who are not even being talked about as potential guards at the next level. So I don't understand the arm length concerns with Kelvin Banks Jr. at all. And I think we're kind of picking and choosing who we're actually concerned about arm length with and who we're not. I think Banks, to me, is the number 1 tackle easily in the draft just because Campbell, there's at least is some concerns with whether or not he can play tackle. I have really no concerns about Kelvin Banks Jr. And I think he might be a top 10 prospect for me in the draft.
I mean, I think any of them. I think Campbell. I see. This is where I was at with Peter Skoronski even a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Let him prove he can't do it. Then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Campbell. That's where I'm at with Banks. I mean, even Membu. I mean, let him play tackle and see what happens. They've been playing tackle their whole life, but no, Kelvin Banks. I think the prototype for what any of those same teams that I talked about with Membu and the outside zone blocking and the pass protection. I think when you talk about the 49ers, the Miami Dolphins, I think if he were to get this far, to say Seattle at 18, I would take him in a heartbeat and figure it out later. But no, I think you've seen him prove at left tackle at a big-time program against great competition, especially this year, the SEC and in the playoff, where it's like there's not a ton of – he gets caught leaning a little bit. I think there's sometimes he's trying to find that balance between measuring a guy up and going for the kill shot. But, look, he's a wicked athlete. I think he's – again, I keep going back to this. I think San Francisco at 11.
Yeah.
I think I don't think – and if they like Membu better, fine, because you have a kind of a similar player on the other side of the line of scrimmage. But that's where I look at. And I know, look, arm length, you mentioned it. I've never heard about it more than in this draft. It's been talked about with every single offensive tackle in this draft. Does he have long enough arms? And I just look at a guy like Kelvin Banks. I go, he's been too good for too long not to have him at tackle. I think it very well could be that he is, if they're both playing tackle, he may be the better tackle than Campbell. That's how tight this is. And it, again, depends on what type of player you're looking for. But I think Banks is another one. I don't think he's getting out of the top 16.
No,
I don't think there's any way even, again, if Arizona felt like taking him and moving him over to the right side and maybe tweaking the schemes, they mix up their schemes a little bit. But, no, I mean, it just feels like we've been watching him for so long and calling him the best left tackle in college football this year especially. I don't think he's dropping very far, regardless of whatever measurements teams want to nitpick.
It feels like this happens to a lot of guys in every draft, just the fatigue, right? Because Kelvin Banks Jr. immediately, I think it was one of his first games of his career, was against Will Anderson Jr., and he held up really well. And since that point...
I think we have it with Campbell, too, right? Yeah. We've been watching him just be great for 3 years, right? I mean, ever since...
And now we're nitpicking now.
Wasn't he the first ever true freshman left tackle for Notre Dame? Or LSU, sorry.
I think for
LSU. I mean, I think he was the first one to ever start at left tackle as a true freshman for LSU.
This just happens with, like, elite prospects when they're this good for 3 years. You're just like, okay, Who's next? Who else can we talk about? Because it gets boring to talk about the same guys for 3 years, but you can't forget just how good these guys have been. And I think it's happening to Kelvin Banks Jr. right now. And listen, Membu's phenomenal. I'm not denying that, but he's a guy who broke out this year, right? He's a guy who came out of nowhere and became this elite prospect. Banks has been this way his entire career. And I think there's a little bit of fatigue going on with him. And like I said, the arm length, yes, is below average. The wingspan is 82nd percentile. So no problem with the wingspan right there, which I think is more important than arm length for tackles. So I love Kelvin Banks Jr., man. I think he is getting a little too disrespected, I think, in this draft right now. I think he is absolutely worthy of a top 10 pick, and I think San Francisco or Miami at 11 or 13, they should sprint that card in if he's available, because I think he would be a fantastic player for them. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.